Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name is Andrew Townsend. I'm marketing operations here at Smarty. Today's webinar is about how to survive USPS's new address verification restrictions. We're super excited to get started, dive into this, and hopefully answer all of your guys' questions about these changes that are coming to the USPS API. However, before I introduce our presenters and our topic a little bit more, let's dive in and just do a couple of the standard housekeeping items. We are recording this session. A copy of this will be sent out to everyone who has registered, so you can be looking for that in your inbox within the next couple of days. That also means that if you need to step out early, you'll be able to catch everything in the recording. To interact with our presenters and other audience members, please do use the chat and the Q&A. It looks like someone has already found one of those here. And we'll try to get all of your questions answered by our presenters during the session or during a Q&A at the end. So speaking of our presenters, today we have Jeffrey Duncan, an expert that's working with the USPS integrations here at Smarty. Stuart Larson, one of our technical support team members, and Ben Roden, one of our product marketing managers with us. We're super excited to hear what you guys have to say. And without further ado, I'll turn the time over to Ben Roden to give us a bit of an introduction on the topic.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, everybody. A little background on this event. We heard rumblings about this upcoming change. We had a lot of people concerned about what these changes meant for Smarty. We had people who are looking at alternatives to their current provider ahead of this change. So we wanted to give our 2 cents about what's coming, give you an overview about kind of the lay of the land currently, and then what you can do to avoid any upset. As a former journalist, at least a journalism major, I always learn not to bury the lead. So if you're only here as a Smarty customer and you need to know, does this affect me? If you are using Smarty, we are immune from these changes. So if that's all you need, thank you for being here. Your time is valuable. But if you would like to learn more, to dive into kind of the nitty-gritty, we'd love you to take this journey with us. As Andrew said, we'd love this to be a discussion. We have an agenda that Jeffrey has built out about some points that we'd like to cover and some of the concerns that registrants have raised. But if anything comes up at any point, please use the chat and we will address your questions as soon as we can. So just a quick overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to start talking about what the USPS API in its current state is actually for, how it's being used, and how it's envisioned to be used by USPS. We're going to then jump into what's changing and why we think it's changing. Some of this is speculation, but it's well-informed speculation. We're going to talk about what the actual volume restriction looks like in conjunction with the actual changes from the Web Tools API to the new set of APIs. We're going to talk about the impact assessment. In other words, who's affected, what use cases will still work, and what use cases you're going to want to re-examine if you're reliant on USPS. And then we're going to talk about how Smarty resolves these challenges, provides an alternative, and some advantages to relying solely on Smarty for some of these address verification needs. So without further ado, I will pass this over to our address data wizard in-house, Jeffrey Duncan.
Awesome. Hello, I am Jeffrey Duncan. I have been at Smarty here for 15 years, been here actually since we started the company. Prior to that, I was doing e-commerce. I was shipping, so dealing with addresses. I was shipping out router bits, saw blades, woodworking tools. So I worked at a woodworking company and I did most of the shipping and all the online ordering and fulfillment. So I had to deal with addresses and US Postal Service, FedEx, all of that. So I came here from that background, and I was using tools such as Easy Ship, Pirate Ship, Shipping Easy, ShipStation, a whole bunch of those, as well as directly with the US Postal Service. Since then, I stopped there in 2011. I've been here at Smarty, and now I help refugees that don't want to use the USPS or other services like that to come over to a better address validation mechanism or service. And so let's take a look at that first question, what the USPS API is actually for. I think we all know that the USPS doesn't do online very well. They don't have an email delivery service. They don't scan your letters and deliver them virtually. The US Postal Service, it has always been and is by congressional mandate a parcel and or letter delivery service. So their mandate, all of their funding, and what they have to always keep in mind is how can they deliver parcels better. That's what they do. And I don't know when the retiring USPS Address API, or as it's currently called, but on the 25th of this month, it will no longer be called. It used to be called Shipping API as well as USPS Web Tools. That's going away. So that has been around at least 15 years. It's been around since I started here at Smarty, and I used it before that as well. It was designed just to enable to move into this digital era. Part of it allows users to actually generate a shipping label. And in doing that, purchase the postage, or check the address, purchase the postage, and even print a shipping label. Very few people actually interact directly with that tool. Most e-commerce, most people that are shipping or using it are using it through another service, as I mentioned, Easy Ship Station, Pirate Ship. They're using it through these third-party providers. Now, if you are, let me slow down a little bit. It was designed simply to enable end users to verify addresses, print shipping labels. It was never designed for high volume. It was never designed to service these other third-party users, these shipping companies. And one of the biggest items in the terms of service is that you can't use the USPS API for anything other than anything other than shipping a first-class priority or express mail package or letter. So you can't even use it to just verify if an address is real. That's not allowed. And you can't use it if you want to compare rates. What's the rate for if I ship this priority versus if I ship this UPS ground? That's outside of their terms of service. And so for many years, at least 15, it has been abused, and it's just been people could use it any way they want. I have tried to see what kind of throughput I could get on it. It's high. They don't want you to do that much, but I've tried it and was able to get quite a few multiples of hundreds per second. That's changing. So what is it for? Let's see if I missed anything. Again, USPS, they deliver packages. And if they can allow you, the user, to check your address and get it right before you give it to them, then they avoid misdirection and they avoid having to return it for a better address or even having to deliver it twice. So there's benefits to them. For the most part, I think they created it just to, I don't know, just to say, me too. Hey, we've got a website too. Hey, we've got an API. Some of the weaknesses of the existing USPS web tools, as well as the incoming ones, inconsistent uptime. So in the past, prior to the new version, and the new version I will call the address API. Everything before that is the web tools API. They had inconsistent uptime. In fact, there are a number of tracking services that monitor that uptime, and it would go down for dozens of seconds, almost per hour. So it wasn't how many milliseconds, it's no, how many seconds. And what's the response time? Usually it was half a second, which is not scalable. It's not production ready. Their documentation is poor. There's no one that you can reach out to get support on the free web tools. They also they really returned the minimum amount of metadata about an address. Is it good? Is it bad? That's mostly it.
Jeffrey, quick question regarding responsiveness to requests. Part of the announcement about the tool change says that, hey, we're gonna limit it to 60 requests per minute, and we'll jump into that later. There's also a note there that you can request increased volume. Is that something you've tried to do, and did you receive a response on that?
Good question. You said 60 per minute. It's actually 60 per hour. Let's just make sure.
Oh, sorry, 60 per hour. I was giving them credit they didn't deserve.
And we will get into that. I have not reached out to the Postal Service to request higher rates. I'm positive that they will give higher rates. What those are, I don't know. But with a lot of large companies that have been using this and rely on it for their bread and butter, they certainly would be petitioning or already have to get the higher throughput.
Do you think, I think this is what we'll get into next, but do you think that represents a point for them to re-audit usage? To say, hey, if you're going to request more, we need to look at your use case and see if you're actually within terms of service. Because I imagine As you mentioned, people have been gaming the system for 15 years. Is it possible that they use this as an opportunity to cut people off or ask them to pay more or something like that?
Yeah, so often when terms of service are not enforced, when certain details of terms of service are not enforced, especially for a long time, they become almost unenforceable because people have built their business on being able to scrape or being able to get higher throughput than they should, and then they scream and cry when that's taken away.
Yeah.
I mean, they shouldn't have in the first place, but yes,
Yeah, it's understandable.
one of the weaknesses, let me come back to you in just a second,
Yeah.
of the USPS as it has been is that there was never a performance guarantee, no service level agreement, and there was no guarantee of could you even scale it. So you're at their mercy. If they're up, cool. If they choose to throttle you, if they choose to enforce, now you're stuck.
Got it. That makes sense. One quick pause here, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
We're going to throw up a couple of polls just to help gauge who's in the call. So if you guys wouldn't mind just quickly responding to these as you're listening, that would give us some good insight as to how we want to guide this conversation.
Cool.
Please continue, sir.
You bet. So let's hit the next one. What's changing and why? I think, again, I don't speak for the US Postal Service, but I've been watching and working with them for 25 years, very closely for the last 15 years. What's changing? They are getting rid of the old API, not just make deprecating it, it's completely gone. As of the 25th of this month, whether it's the 25th at midnight or at the start of the 25th at 00 hour, the old API, the shipping APIs, or the web tools, both of those are the same thing, will no longer be accessible. If you are still using those, you will not be able to. And they already have available, but they're going to be rolling over full time to the new address API. Again, address API is I'm using that as a generic container for their multiple APIs that they have. They have the label generator, they have the rate calculator, but I'm specifically talking about the address API. All of those are being switched over to the new version. So all the old versions will no longer be available. Why are they doing it? It's about dang time. It has been there you go. Let's see the picture of the snail there.
It was inadvertent, but apropos.
Perfect timing. You've got a letter carrier, and this snail can only carry small letters and only a certain amount of them. That doesn't scale. You can only strap on so many letters to a snail. Okay, so they're changing it because they need to. They need to enforce the terms that they have already had in their terms of service. Clients are expecting a certain amount of reliability, uptime, and just to their old code. If any of you have worked directly with the US Postal Service, I'm going to use a term that only older people might understand, COBOL, COBOL. Older programming language, the USPS actually uses COBOL for much of their infrastructure. I don't know about the new stuff, but I would go out on a limb, 99% say they're not using COBOL anymore for the new stuff. That's a big change, a good change. It means they can make improvements going forward without having to re-architect the whole system. Again, the best answer of why they're changing is probably it's about dang time.
If anybody else would like to participate in this poll, it looks like there's just a couple more people that haven't. But the data that we're getting back here about our audience, as far as what they are experiencing, the majority of them are Smarty customers. We have a couple that are not. But it seems like nobody in the audience is using USPS APIs directly. Several are relying on them through partners or vendors. A lot of them are not using them, and there's a chunk that aren't sure. And I imagine that's probably one of two reasons for the not sure. Either you're using a partner or vendor and you don't know where they get their information or how they might be using USPS, or you're not tied to that part of the tech stack at your company.
Cool. Let me change up some things then and kind of address that a little bit more. As Ben mentioned, he was slightly ambiguous. If you are using Smarty, no change at all. No problem. This does not affect Smarty in any way. Not even in the slightest. I had one oddball question that what happens if the US Postal Service data, what if they don't provide it to Smarty for a month? Cool. Then Smarty continues as we already are and we would just use last month's data from the US Postal Service. Not a big deal at all. The US Postal Service is only one of our data sources. So it doesn't affect it doesn't affect everything. It would only affect just that month's data release.
So Jeffrey and Ben, with
Yeah.
that being one of several data sources,
Yeah,
there is a question asking if it will affect Smarty's subscription costs.
not at all. Zero change on that. It doesn't affect us at all. We have been operating in the same way that we do right now for the last, at least the last 7 years, where the US Postal Service is just one of our sources, and our costs are not tied to this change that the Postal Service is making.
Excellent.
Good question. For those of you who are not sure if this USPS change affects you, just know from the Smarty side, it doesn't affect you at all. And if you have other providers, other address providers or shippers or mailers or even list generators, I would check with them to see how this USPS change will affect them and thus affect you.
So is there a way for us to, without giving proprietary information away, to explain why Smarty is unimpacted by this?
Sure. So Smarty gets data from the US Postal Service, and we get that data from them updated on a monthly basis. Assuming the data drop, or we receive data on the 1st of January, from the USPS, we utilize that data for the entirety of the month. No changes. We don't reach out to the USPS on a daily or weekly basis. It's just monthly. We get new data from them. So when we have that data, any change that they make doesn't even affect us. But what we're talking about here, the change that they're making is for people that are calling directly to the US Postal Service in real time to check addresses. In that way, Smarty is a competitor of the US Postal Service. The Postal Service delivers the packages, great. Smarty doesn't do that. But the Postal Service also, through their address API, allows you to confirm, is an address real? And that is quite definitely what Smarty does as well. The difference is that we do it faster. We have multiple sources. We are more reliable. We have a support team. Maybe Stuart will chime in toward the end of this and at least tell us his name. We have a support team that answers your call right away, and call, email, chat, whatever. If you need help figuring out addresses, we can help. That's what we do. Whereas the US Postal Service delivers packages and parcels, we help with addresses.
So just to reiterate and maybe restate for clarity, Jeffrey, for my sake anyway.
Yeah.
We obviously, you've mentioned we use USPS data as one of our many data sources. We do not, however, rely on their APIs. We have independent ingest methods, so we are completely insulated from this change, and we have redundancy built in to cover any eventualities related to USPS.
Yep. And even without those redundancies, this change doesn't affect us because the the address API from the US Postal Service is not something that Smarty has ever utilized. So it doesn't even affect us.
Cool.
So some changes that they're making, again, when we hit that date again, the 25th of January is when the old web tools will be completely shut down. The new web tools, they're trying to, I think, create something that is scalable, something that they're promising a 99.9% uptime guarantee, which is great. Could be better, but coming from no guarantee, that is awesome. And I believe that the rate limit that they're having, so we'll move into that, the volume restrictions, 60 requests per second across all of their APIs. So if you are making one request, I said per second, it's per hour, 60 requests per hour across all their APIs.
So one request per minute.
Yeah. But they're capping it per hour. So you can do all 60 in 1 minute if you wanted to.
Okay, got it.
So if you make a request to their address API to verify an address, and then you make a request with that address to their rate calculation API, and then you take that and you purchase and generate a label using that address, you've now made 3 requests. So from start to finish, you actually can do about 20 per hour, 20 label generations with those addresses per hour. And that seems very slow. At the same time, it's really nice to have an advertised volume limit. Hey, this is what we can do. And then, of course, you can ask them. They haven't stated whether they're charging for it or not, but they could. You can ask them for a volume increase. And then, of course, you're no longer under the radar with the Postal Service. You're on their map. And Ben, you mentioned that clients that may have been taking advantage of loopholes or ability to run far more requests per minute or per second, they might now have to justify to the USPS why they need 600,000 per minute to ship labels, to print
Yeah.
labels.
That leads me to another question, Jeffrey. So, assuming, people are directly interacting with the USPS or they're interacting with a vendor, what are some use cases that are still valid? In other words, hey, we come in, we suddenly are enforcing these terms of service. What kinds of organizations or what kind of use cases are still valid for the USPS APIs, and what things can't it do once the kind of other boot drops?
What it can do is all the same things, but very low volume. And I'm pretty sure that they've put that in place so that they at least have a minimum rule, and now they're enforcing those transaction limits, and you can ask for more. So the same restrictions or the weak points that they had before of speed and documentation and availability of support, those are still problematic, which is why I think most people will still continue going through third-party vendors that utilize the USPS. So those vendors will ask for the larger volume restrictions and continue to feed things to clients. Again, there are not a whole, I don't think there have been a lot of people that have been using the USPS API like this directly, not end users. If you created your own plugin for Shopify, so you could make your own labels, cool. That's outdated, but that would be one of the use cases that would be dramatically affected by this. And if you hit the rate limit, it just stops. You have to wait until they have lowered that. After a certain amount of time, you'll be able to start sending requests again. It's unsuitable. The USPS API, as they've advertised it, is not suitable, in my view, for production systems, unless you can guarantee that you need to generate fewer than 20 labels per hour. It's not suitable for batch processing. They have specifically said that it can never be used for that. High volume, burst traffic, real-time validation. Again, it's just low volume. Yeah.
Got it. That's great.
Impact assessment. Let's see. I think we hit this already. If you're using Smarty, enjoy the video. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
If you are using the USPS directly, you should probably be contacting them instead of watching this video, because we don't want to take any time away from you getting set up with the new API.
Got it. That's a great lead in. Stuart, if people do have questions about this, if they need additional resources, what's the best way for them to reach our support team?
Yeah, we have 3 wonderful ways that you can get us. You have our email, support@smarty.com. We do respond to emails pretty quickly, but it's probably our slowest one. If you want to get us on our webpage, we have a nice chat bot in the lower right-hand corner. You can get us there, and you can also get us through our phone number there, but those are the quickest ways. We're always ready and here to help look at addresses with you. We can look at the USPS data you get from them with the API. You can also bounce and compare it to ours and show you what we're looking at and everything with it. We're always willing to go the extra mile to make sure you're satisfied with what you need.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stuart. We're going to run one last poll here, guys, just to see. Hopefully you're feeling a little less stressed. Hopefully you're feeling better informed after having attended the webinar. I put each of our email addresses up on the screen. Feel free to message any of us directly, or as Stuart mentioned, going to those support channels. I think we've hit all the points we wanted to hit. Is that right, Jeffrey?
Yes, I'm going to hit one more.
Oh, okay.
So I shouldn't say yes. How does the impact assessment? So
Yeah.
for Smarty, we have seen an uptick in people interested in address validation. And so the USPS has spread this across the world, across the country. Hey, there's some changes. Wait, what is address validation anyway? Does it affect us? Does my company even use it? So that's been good for Smarty. I say the more people that reach out to my support team, Stuart and his cohorts, the better, because if you ask questions, you can get answers, and we can help you. We help people all day long, even people that just want to talk. That's crazy, but we help them anyway. So that's what our support team does. They support Smarty, and that Smarty, we support our clients as they're looking for all things related to addresses, address verification. We just don't do shipping.
Beautiful. All right.
The
Thank you so
confidence
much.
of the scale, just so you know, is 10, 9, 8, and 7s. We have nothing lower.
Okay, great. If you are a 7 or a soft 8, or really anyone, now's your time to ask any questions, anything we didn't address, anything that was unclear. We are coming up on our 11:30 time, which is allotted for the webinar. If you need to drop, great. If you'd like to stay on, if you still have questions, we're happy to chat with you. We'll give just a second to give you a chance to send any questions you have.
If I just see a jumble of letters, I'll know someone banged their head on the keyboard.
Okay, I have some questions that I generated, and I will stop instantly if anyone else has one.
Sure.
Okay.
What if the US Postal Service introduces new fees? Cool, doesn't affect Smarty. End of question. What if USPS systems go down? We don't use them real time, doesn't affect us. End of story, or end of question. Another one. What is an example of misuse? According to the US Postal Service, if you use their service to verify an address and then ship the package or the letter with UPS, that's a violation of their terms. So that's misuse. Whereas with Smarty, we don't place limits on how you use it, because we're simply checking to see if the address is, we're cleaning up the address for you and confirming that the address is real or not real. So you can use it to ship or not ship, or you could tattoo the address on some part of your body.
When in doubt.
When in doubt, yeah.
Oh, geez. All
Excellent.
right. It doesn't look like we have any other questions, but people know how to contact Stuart. So I think we're good. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We hope this has been valuable. We'll see you guys in the next webinar. And again, don't hesitate to contact Stuart.
And again,
If you have more
don't
questions.
contact us, whatever you
Don't
do.
contact us. All right. Thanks, guys.